Welcome to Lead with Clarity. This is a space for leaders who want to grow without losing themselves in the process. Each episode is a short reflection on leadership, influence, and the inner work that shapes how we show up for others. It's not hype, not noise, just clear thinking for the journey of leading well. Today's episode is entitled The Environment You Create: How Safety Unlocks Your Team's Best Work. Here we go. Think about the last time you were in a room and you knew exactly what needed to be said, but you said nothing. You filtered it. You weighed the risk. You decided it was not worth it. Now think about how many times that happens in your organization every single day, in every meeting, on every team, at every level. That collective silence has a cost, and most leaders are paying it without knowing it. Barra, who led one of the most complex turnarounds in American corporate history as CEO of General Motors, said something that gets to the heart of this. She said, "If you're in an environment where you feel comfortable, where you can speak your mind and challenge, you're going to produce your best work." That's not an aspiration, that's a finding. She lived it, she built it, and she saw what happened when it was missing. I was working with a senior leader that ran a sizable business unit. Talented team, strong results on paper, but something was off. When I spent time with his team without him in the room, the conversations were completely different. People had real concerns. They had ideas. They had seen problems coming for months. But in his presence, none of it surfaced. The team was performing, but they were not producing their best. There's a difference. He wasn't a bad leader. He was not dismissive or harsh. But over time, through small signals, he had taught his team that his opinion was the finish line. Once he stated a view, the conversation was effectively over. Nobody pushed back. Not because they agreed, but because they had learned it was easier not to. Here's what most leaders get wrong about psychological safety. They think it means keeping the peace, making people feel good, avoiding conflict. So they create an environment that feels pleasant, that has the right language and the right values on the wall, and they mistake comfort for safety. Those are not the same thing. A team can be very comfortable and still be completely unwilling to tell you something difficult. Real psychological safety is not about making things easy. It's about making it safe to be honest. That requires courage from the leader, not just policy. The question is not whether your team feels good about coming to work. The question is whether they feel safe enough to tell you something you don't want to hear. Do they believe that speaking up will be met with curiosity or with defensiveness? Do they see evidence that candor is valued or evidence that the path of least resistance is to agree? When I coach leaders on this, I ask them to think about the last time someone on their team disagreed with them directly. What happened next? What did the leader do? The team watched that moment very carefully, and they drew conclusions from it that shaped every conversation afterward. The environment is always something the leader creates. It does not form on its own. Every interaction either builds or erodes people's willingness to speak. Every time a leader reacts defensively to a challenge, the temperature drops a little. Every time a leader leans in, asks a follow-up question, and thanks someone for a hard truth, the temperature rises. These are micro decisions. They happen dozens of times a week, and they accumulate into the culture. Barra understood that the best thinking in any organization lives in the people closest to the work. But that thinking only reaches the table when people trust it's safe to bring it. The leader's job is to build that trust, repeatedly and consistently, not as a one-time initiative, but as a daily practice. The organizations that produce the most, that move the fastest, that adapt the best, are not the ones with the smartest leaders at the top. They're the ones where the smartest thinking flows freely from everywhere. That only happens when people feel safe enough to offer it. Build that environment. Protect it. And remember that silence in your meetings is not a sign that everything is fine. More often, it's a sign that something important is going unsaid.